Alright, so today we're taking a look at the Eachine LAL3 HD. So I did a review about a month or month and a half ago on the, I guess, the original LAL3, the non-HD version, but that one came, I think, with like a split style camera, so I guess it was pseudo HD. I think it was the Baby Turtle Whip Edition was on that one, and the frame was a little bit different. That was more like a H style frame, more traditional freestyle. This here is a dead cat style frame, and they have to send me the version with the full air unit and not the one with the Vista. So this frame can support the Vista. It does come in the Vista version. So if you think about picking up this frame, you can see it's got 20 by 20 and 16 by 16 holes in the back here for a Vista or some sort of an analog build if you want to do an analog build as well. And it supports 20 by 20 and 16 by 16 stacks. So as you can see here, it's a dead cat style frame here with the rear arm swept back, but not quite as pulled in as on, say, like the DC3 or some other dead cat style frames. And this does remind me a lot of the Titan, or is it the Titan? The iFly DC3 frame. I think that one was also unibody, single plate, as well as this one. This one here, it looks like it's about 3 millimeters thick. So it's I don't know, the carbon that they use here isn't the most spectacular carbon, so it has a little bit of give at the front arms, not really that much, but the longer back arm has a little bit of play in it. It's not a whole lot, and I think it has to do with the fact that it's cut diagonally here, but it's still fairly strong. It should hold up decently and crashes, but it's going to have this sort of same problems that the DC3 had in terms of the frame rigidity and also the tuning issues with the DC3. So something to keep in mind. This is in this format here with the full air unit. It is almost identical to the DC3 in terms of the way it flies and the way it looks. It's really close. And if I were to get this, I would have gotten the Vista version. I think I requested the Vista version, but for whatever reason they sent me the air unit version. I think at the time when I requested it, the Vista version was not in stock. There was a Vista shortage, so maybe that's probably the reason why. But the full air unit version with the full DJI camera is on here, so maybe they had a lot of air units with the full DJI camera available. And interestingly enough, the DJI version with the full air unit here actually is $10 cheaper on flash sale than the Vista version right now. So at the time of this video, of course, prices change all the time, so check the links. I'll put links to both the full air unit version and the Vista version down in the description. But yeah, obviously the full air unit version, you get 2 antennas. It's kind of overkill for a 3-inch. The thing that's the biggest difference here between this and the DC3 is that it comes with 1408 motors. It's the same motor as before. The 1408 is a 3750 kV motor, and the DC3 came with 1404 motor, so it was a little bit lighter than this one. This one's a bit chunky, a bit heavy. I flew it around on a 4S 650, and the total weight here, flying, I think it's still over 250 grams. Pretty chunky here. So this is just new battery, drone by itself, 213.6, and then they're on this 4S 650. We're almost at 290. But yeah, if you want more power, I would recommend, instead of the 650, go to a little bit bigger battery. Go to like a 850 to get a little bit more flight time. You get pretty decent flight time on this one. I think 5 to 5.5 minutes in this one. If you want more flight time, you can go to an 850. If you want less flight time and a little bit more accurate ability, go down to like a 550 or 450 for us. Then you'll get way more agility. But if you're going to be doing that, I would definitely go for the Vista version instead of the full air unit version. If you get this heavier full air unit version, this is really more for cruising. I would say go for the bigger battery to cruise around. But at that point, you may want to just consider going to like the 4-inch long range and be able to carry a bigger battery if you want to go under 250 grams. Now, with the full air unit back here and the way this is balanced, it's very back heavy. And this is the same problem that the DC3 had. It's like, you can see it's very back heavy here. So unless you're carrying like a GoPro or naked GoPro to have more weight in the front, you're going to probably have to move the battery more forward. so that you can balance out the back of the quad here, because that's a lot of weight on the back motors and it's going to feel unbalanced in the air, especially if you're doing any sort of accurate tricks. So the electronics in here are the same as on the original LAL3. You have your F4 flight controller, plenty of connections, and plenty of solder points. I think it only comes with 2 solid UARTs, and you'll have to always do some soft serials if you want to do like an extra UART for GPS, for example. And then it does come with a 32-bit 35 amp ESC, so kind of unusual in this price point to have a BLW32 ESC and a 20x20 at this price point. So in a lot of cases, I've actually suggested people actually buy this ESC separately. I think it's available as a separate part. It's not too expensive. So this stack here, you know, it's a versatile stack. It's not the greatest stack in the world, but you could do a lot of builds with it. And if you want to get a 32-bit ESC, it's not a bad price point for 32-bit ESC and a 20x20 for like these micro type of builds if you want to go with a 32-bit ESC. So as usual, the props aren't the greatest as well. These are those Racer Star 3-inch props, and for whatever reason, they sent 4 of these purple in this format, and then 4 of the clear in this format. So I had to put them in, instead of like having them, you know, 2 of each, they sent 4 of each. So I had to put the props in this way. I think that's not actually correct. It should have 4, basically 2 sets of the purple in this size, and then 2 in this size. So you could basically have either 1 set of clear or 1 set of purple. But this is the way it came. That's why if you're wondering why it's like this, I think they gave me a mismatched set of props in the box. So I think that the first thing I would do is probably get rid of the props here and get something else like a gem fan or an HQ 3-inch propeller. The PID tune on here was like basically like nothing. They just flashed, I think, 3.5 something, like something really old, and with like no custom settings whatsoever, just a basic flash. So typically Eachine, they just put all the parts together and they don't even put any kind of custom firmware on the flight controller. So I went ahead and I tried flying it on default PIDs on 3.5 and it didn't fly so great. I kind of knew that was going to happen anyway, so went to the drawing board, wiped everything, changed the flight controller firmware to 4.2.4. I'll put all my, I'll just put all the settings down in the CLA dump down in the description. You guys can just pull that if you want. And then on the ESCs, I changed the motor timing to 23 degrees, and I'm running 48 kilohertz on this. So I think that does give you a little bit more flight time if that's what you're looking for on this setup. So definitely tweak the ESC firmware and update your flight controller firmware and use the CLA dump settings I have down in the description, and it'll fly like you see here in the flight demo. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for this guy. Yeah, let me know if you have any questions about this model, this and or the Vista version, and here is the flight footage for you. So I've put a custom tune on here because a stock tune was just like a default flash. It didn't fly so great. So went back and I just put 4.2.4 on here. A little bit of oscillation. We need to add some more TPA. So this frame is really similar looking to the iFlight DC3 that I reviewed a while back, like probably like a year ago. This has an air unit as well, but it can also take a Vista. There's a version with a Vista. So if you want a lighter setup, I'd go for that one if you want to do more freestyle. This is going to be more for cruising around and getting like HD, video. Maybe just want to get some HD video from the air unit, you could do that. And it's as long as you flash my CLI dump up, which I'll put down in the description, it'll fly like this. Out of the box, it has a lot of wobbles. Doesn't really fly so straight. So this flies a lot better on this tune. But I think it's going to be more for cruising around. But yeah, look at the 4-inch long range playlist if you're looking for longer flight times and maybe not as much noise. If you're just going to be cruising around, those are probably better for that. can do a little bit of acro. I have tuned it, but not my first choice for acro if you're wondering what to get. And flight times aren't going to be as long as on the 4-inch, of course. This flies really similarly to the DC3 from what I remember. I don't have that one anymore. I don't fly it anymore. So I just going off of what I remember. This is very, very similar. It's got bigger motors, of course. That's heavier. I can definitely feel the weight, extra weight here. Yeah, you see, it doesn't quite pop up. It has a lower kV motor than the DC3 had at 1404. That was a bit lighter. So it's similar, but not exactly the same. It's got a little bit more top end power because it's got a 1408 motor, but then you're carrying around more weight as well. You can see the shaking there. That is probably mostly because of the props. I think the props are not the best. These Racer Star like clones of something, I don't even know what they're clones of, but I would get like an HQ 2.5 inch, or no, not 2.5 inch, 3 inch, or Gemfan 3 inch tri-blade. Those are going to be probably better balanced. All right, so about 3.5 minutes. I'll just kind of cruise around here until I hit about 14 volts. Let's see how long I can squeeze this battery. For the battery I'm flying on here is a 4S650. And if you're going to be cruising around for a little longer flight time, I'd go for like one of those 4S 1000 or 1100 milliamp hour batteries from GMB. Those will give you like a longer flight time. Or an 850 4S if you want a little bit more performance. But if you're just kind of cruising and not going too crazy on the throttle here, yeah, on this 4S650, going down to 14 volts, I think 5.5 minutes ought to be totally doable. If you go to an 850, definitely longer flight times if you're just kind of cruising around. Yeah, this is definitely flying much better now that I've given it a little bit of a PID tune and upgraded the firmware. I was on 3.5 previously, now we're on the latest 4.2.4, and I've enabled RPM filter as well because why not? We have 32-bit ASDs on here, so we should. Latest firmware on those as well. There we go. Now we're getting towards the end of 14.1 volts. 14 volts. There we go. So we're bringing it for landing almost 5.5 minutes. So yeah, I think 6.5, maybe 7 minutes on an 850 and maybe more on 1100.